Oh, sorry, I had my mic muted. Welcome, everybody, to Working Together series, live from the Netiv Zoom room with Rabbi Karmi Ingber. We're just waiting for Rabbi Ingber to show up. Oh, I see he just
I am
arrived.
here.
He's
He is
here.
here.
So let's just jump right in and say hello.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you all.
Shalom, Rabbi. Yeah,
Good-
we're going to turn the
good to
class
see you,
over to
Rabbi.
you, and let me
Okay.
just shut my screen off for you.
Very good. Okay.
You're live on the air, Rabbi, so we're going to give a class over to you,
Recording
sir.
in progress.
Okay. Should I start?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So we're going to continue what we've been talking about, which is the 7 Noahide laws. And I want to just qualify. I discussed it before. I want to explain a little bit more. Why 7? We talked about it a little bit, but the concept you have to understand is there's a difference between the laws that Jews have and the laws that Noachites have. And the Noachide laws is based on the number 7. And the rationale for that is because 7 is the cycle of the world of nature, meaning that we have 7 days of the week. As we talked, always the 6 sides in the 3-dimensional object, and the thing itself is the goal. The world is based on the thing of 7. I mean, it's pretty amazing if you think about it. Why nations all count 7 days of the week? Why is that? Right? Why do they have 4 days a week? I mean, there may be some strange, things I heard about 1 or 2 people, groups that might have it, but on the whole, it's not that. The world does go on a basis of 7 because the world was created in 7 days, and people know that. Which is, if you think about it, it's mind-boggling. If that is where did that come from? Why 7? It doesn't divide equally. You should have 10 days of the week, and then you could have 3 weeks. 30 days. Why 7? Because everyone knew the world's created in 7 days. So 7 days is the natural cycle. In Judaism, so the circumcision, the bris milah, is on the 8th day, because the 8th day always represents outside of the world of nature, and that's what the Jewish people have to do. They have to bring in the light, which is outside, not outside, but the light that is from the infinite source, to be bring into the system. The 7 Noachide laws is the maintenance of the world of nature as it is. And therefore, even though the Jews have the 7 Noachide commandments are all part of the 613 commandments, but there are great differences in the laws. And the reason for that is that from the Jewish perspective, the mitzvot are moving a certain spiritual reality in the dimension of the 8th, the beyond. And the 7 Noachide laws is to understand the logic of how to act and create a proper society and be righteous. And that's why I saw somebody say on one of these groups. Again, I don't go on Facebook really, so I don't know. But I saw somebody say once on one of these groups, somehow came to me, that some rabbis teach a watered down Judaism to Noachides. And I thought it was actually a fair claim, a fair statement, that rabbis have to be careful because it's a different system and a different rationale, and that's why the particular laws of the system, even the 7 Noachide laws, it's different laws because they're different. They're accomplishing different things, and that's also why we saw that some rabbis maintain, that Noachides are obligated on all of the logical laws. Why is that? Because the Noahide system is not obligating you to go into the beyond level that is the obligation of the Jew who must go and does not have a system in the world as the natural world. If you think about it for a minute, you'll realize, I forgot who it was. I think it was Dostoevsky or no, it was I forgot who it was. It was I forgot who it was, but I was the Tsar of Russia. I forgot who asked him, but he asked one of the thinkers, prove to me there's a God. And this guy who he asked, I forgot who it was, unfortunately, but he was not a person like the Jews. And he said Jewish history. Why did you do it? Because it doesn't make sense. It's not logical. Doesn't make sense. If you look at the Jewish system, so Abraham gives birth. He bears Isaac when he's 100 years old, and Sarah is 90. Now, the sages tell us, if you look, when a person is called 100 years old, they're called over batel. They're out of this world. I don't know if you've ever seen someone who's 100. Most people are fortunate that you might see or 100 years old, or maybe not with all their faculties. But the great sages of Israel very often live into their hundreds, and they are very aware, but they're in a different world. And my brother said he was with my Rosh Yeshiva, my head of my yeshiva, who passed when he was 106, and he remembers that he was with him a lot of times after he was 100, and he would say things. He was very aware, and then he would kind of look and sort of smile at them, like with the expression like, "Boy, you guys are really." You're in this different world. I'm already seeing the world from a different vantage point, because when you're in the world, all these problems, you got this and that, and he was already seeing the world from beyond. So 100 is called out of this world. Why did Isaac? Why was he born when Abraham was 100 years old? It's exactly for that, because the Jewish people do not have a natural system. That's why their history is not natural, their process is not natural, they're out of the natural world. The 7 Noachide worlds is in the natural world, and it's the responsibility of the world to maintain the world proper order, to not let the world fall apart and break down the fences that keep the world as they are. And that's the 7 Noachide laws. And that leads me into the topic I want to talk about today, which is one of the 7 Noachide laws, which is do not steal. Okay? I said to you last time, I like to view the 3 Noachide laws of idolatry, murder, and illicit relations as sort of the three root ideas. That's the way I wanted to structure it. And because you could see it makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because the said that a person who is commits idolatry, that lines up with the blasphemy person. It's a breakdown between man and God. And then if you look at murder, we're going to see next week what that lines up with. But today I want to talk about theft. And theft, in a certain sense, lines up with illicit relations. Okay? And let me explain to you why that is, especially when I said to you that theft, that illicit relations was a breakdown relationship between man and himself, right? I gave you that 3 dynamics: man and himself, man and God, and man fed his fellow man. So what is this concept that why is stealing? Why is that somehow a breakdown relationship between man and himself? It seems to be not between man and his fellow man, really. So I want to explain to you a little bit what the problem of theft is. And as I said, I'm not saying this is exactly the law of the 7 Noachide laws. And some of the things I'm going to mention, it seems that Noachide are not obligated if they do. It's not called stealing, but I want to explain the concept of what stealing is. Okay? What is stealing? What is the mindset of theft? Okay? Because there is the Noachide law, you can't steal. Okay, that's a very serious consequence if someone does that. But there are mindsets of logical things that are an outgrowth of the mindset of the thief. And I want to explain. And I want to show you how that's connected with illicit relations. Because first, let me tell you like this. There's a statement that when God wanted to give the Torah, he offered it to the nations. Now, did he offer it to the nations literally through their prophet Bilam, or did he look into their essence and see that that wasn't for them? But there was different nations, and one nation, the Roman nation, didn't want it because it says don't kill, and killing is very much aligns with their philosophy. There was another nation that didn't want it because it said don't steal. And this nation really, has created their own religion that deals with stealing in a very strong way. They cut the person's hand off. What I'm not saying is, excessive or not excessive. They understood that that they have to stop this mentality. But what is the mentality that leads to stealing? What is the mentality that leads to illicit relations in a certain sense? And what that is the inability to understand the other person as a separate being. Okay? I expand myself, 1969, love the one you're with. There's no boundaries. The boundaries are gone. And so the idea of stealing, the root cause of stealing is that you see yourself as everything is mine. I expand myself. I don't recognize the person's boundary. So that's why I said to you once before, although the law is you can't actually steal, but I gave you examples of things that are not necessarily in the Noahide laws, but for example, the idea of stealing someone's sleep. Now, I'm not saying that a person would be judged as breaking the Noahide laws, because stealing sleep is a little bit of a more a nuanced problem. What the problem is that you're damaging someone, you're harming them. But what it really comes from is the same mentality when I don't appreciate their space. Okay? Now, so this goes to a lot of things. It goes to stealing people's sleep, meaning the guy's sleeping, or it's a time when the people are asleep, and you don't care. You're banging on your wall. That means you're not conscious of another person's parameters and boundaries. I mean, it's not so common in America because lines are very official in America. But cutting the line, which in a lot of in a lot of places that happens, you cut the line. Cutting line's a problem because you've, in a certain sense, stolen my time. Now again, it might not be considered under Noahide laws, but it's the mentality of not understanding the person's parameters, the person's space. So I expand myself. I want to make noise now. I want to get there faster. And you don't recognize the other person. And that's the root of stealing, which is why it's connected with with illicit relations. Because the person who just feels, he has his desires, he has no boundaries. I once, I think I shared with you once, a friend of mine I think I shared with you, I'll tell you again. A friend of mine, he was on the line in the checkout in the supermarket. And as you know, when you get to the supermarket counter, the checkout line, they put all of these things that you can buy as you're waiting online. And they're smart. They put the things like the candies for the kids so that the kid could torture his parents while they're waiting online. Like, give me the candy, give me the candy. So my friend's waiting online. He's a rabbi, he's waiting online, and the kid is screaming, I want that candy, I want that candy, I want that candy. And the guy, the father says, just wait, let me pay, and then we can get you the candy. The kid waits. But I want the candy. It's the candy. He looks at it and goes, oh, it's not kosher. And the kid stops screaming. And they walk out. The guy behind him was so blown away, he chased my friend out into the parking lot and said, I don't understand. I don't get it. The kid's 5 years old. He was screaming his head off. All you do is tell him it's not kosher. And he says, okay, how many people do that in America? But I want this. It's me. She's the one for me. But you can't have her. It's not yours. But there's no boundary. There's no boundary. And that is the underpinnings of what the problem of the theft mindset is. It's not understanding of the person's boundaries. Now, this really has a very fascinating component to it today because it is the philosophy of the world. It's the new wave. It's called socialism. Why is socialism theft? What do you mean? It's helping everyone. No. There's different kinds of mentalities. There are those people that say, what yours is mine and what's mine is mine. That's called an evil person. because their mindset's all on the take. There's somebody else says yours is yours and mine is mine. Well, that's a question. That could be average, or it could be it's a negative thing because they don't care. America set up their system intelligently. The capitalist system was not set as a cold capitalist system. It was based on the Jewish concepts of charity. Now, unfortunately, the government taking your money to do the charities they want to do is a real aberration of that, because who knows what they're doing with it. How much money is wasted and who's it going to? Let people give charity, and that then the world's going to work very nicely. But the system of yours, mine is mine, that some people understand that's average. It's not a bad guy, and some people understand that is could be a bad trait, because what happens is that the person might be so, this is mine, yours is yours. I never want to help somebody. So that's why it's dangerous. Then there's a person who's a very, very righteous person. It's very hard to accomplish. It's a mindset. He says, what's yours is yours. I recognize your space. I also want to help. Now, I have possessions, but I want to help you. I want to take my things and make the world better. I'm looking to help. That's a righteous person. And then there's what the sages say is called the fool, the ignoramus. What does the ignoramus say? He says, mine is yours and yours is mine. Wait a minute. Isn't that good? Isn't that socialism? Isn't it helping her? How come it never works? It's never worked ever. You got the guy in Argentina standing up and saying, hey, this didn't work. This was a disaster. What were you guys doing? So where does it come from? Why does everyone want to do it? The answer is because it means I've broken down the boundaries between you and me. And that's why every time it starts, it ends up with theft. Whenever the socialist system starts in the world, it ends up with, they take yours and all of the fat cats line their pockets. Why? Because they've broken the parameters. You don't have yours. If you don't have yours, it means I don't have mine either. It's just the way it is, because there's no boundaries. The quality of the commandment of not stealing, and when it's done properly, is really to look at the other person and see them as a separate individual with their desires, their wants, their qualities, not to expand ourselves where we're pushing ourselves into other people. And so when you see people talking about these ideas of socialism, and it doesn't work, because in the root of that's not where it's at. The root of it is that they want to take down the barriers, because why? The guy's calling for, it's very funny, people call for these socialist ideas. There's two kinds of people. One is the ones who feel they're going to get the other person's money. That's why they want to do it. And then there's the strange people who you can't understand why they're calling for it, because these guys are, they're on top. And they're powerful. Why are these guys calling for socialism who are so rich? And I know they're not going to go and give half of them. I know, whatever, these movie stars that espouse these ideas now that border on socialism, they're never very quick to give their own stuff away. So why do they espouse it? Well, the reason why they espouse it is because they know that they're in a position of power, and they'll be able to maintain what's theirs. That's the way they view it. They won't in the end. But that is the breakdown in the borders. And that's what we said before. The Noahide laws have to keep the world in its proper order. And therefore, when you look at a person, you have to say, wait, God gave this person a mission in life. He gave him his own objects. Do you know that the objects that you have are meant to be had by you? They are actually relevant to who you are. There was a great sage, Pinchas ben Yair, and his animal would not eat unkosher food, his donkey. What? How is that possible? because what he did was he understood his items, the possessions that he has, what God gave him to do his mission. And he infused his own mentality even into his physical objects. And his animal somehow miraculously understood, this I can't eat. There's certain things the animal didn't eat. It's amazing. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. But it's true. It happened. And it happens when you look at and it's important to start with yourself. Notice, look at the things you have in your life. Look at your house. Look at your family. Look at your finances. Stop looking at the negative. Look what you have and say, wait a minute. This was given to me to accomplish what I have to accomplish. It's meant to be mine. What the other person's is not meant to be mine. I have no connection to it. That's why we learn the story of Joseph. When Joseph talks in the story of the wife of Potiphar, when she tries to seduce him, it's the most unbelievable conversation. He says, listen, the owner of this house trusted me with everything except for you. How could I do that? How could I do it? It sounds like he's talking about, stealing a watch. What do you mean? It's illicit relations. Because Yosef did not see what was not his. This is a very high level, by the way. This is a very high level, and only certain people can attain it. There is a spiritual level that Abraham got to, and many great sages get to it today, where they don't even see something that's not theirs. They don't see something negative. They somehow are able, I can't tell you how it works, because the first level that we work on is to not look at something that's not yours, okay? To understand that there's a commandment, it's a Jewish commandment, but I'm giving the concept, which is not even to want something that's not yours. But and I'm not saying that's an obligation of the Noachide law, but I'm giving it to you in the concept of the root of not to steal. That's why I'm giving it to you in this context, in this class. But there's a high level where a person actually doesn't see what's not theirs. The first level is I don't look at something that I shouldn't see. If it's something that I might want, and I control myself, say no, it's not mine. It's not mine, and therefore I shouldn't have. I have what I need. God gave me exactly what I need. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a principle. God gives you right now what you need. What? I need so much more. That's why I pray. I want this and I want that. This and I want that. That's true. That's tomorrow. This second, you have exactly what you need right now to accomplish what you have to accomplish. And maybe you accomplish it. Maybe then tomorrow you'll get more things. But we run away from that. We don't understand that it's not a random situation. You have what you have to do what you need to do right now. And maybe you'll advance and be a different person that has more things to do, and you'll have more tools to get there. But the tools that you have are your tools. They really are meant for you. They are a God-given gift to accomplish what you need to accomplish, all your possessions. So wait a minute. If that's true for me, that's true for you. It means you have your things. I have no connection to what's yours. Okay, the low level is maybe you see the guy driving around his Corvette and you say, oh, wow, that Corvette looks nice. Then you have to stop yourself and say, okay, if I was supposed to have a Corvette, then I would have a Corvette. But this is his Corvette, and you can stop yourself. Someone like Yosef would never even seen the Corvette, would miss it, just because it's not his. And a person doesn't see a man doesn't see a woman. That's not his. What kind of business is that? How's that possible? Yeah, society has already made it very easy. This whole thing is like, oh yeah, people have affairs. What do you have affair? What are you guys crazy? It's the biggest destruction of the world. This is. I just put you an affair. Understand this in a minute, because you have to understand this in the context of stealing. I want you to understand this. Just like I say, my item, belongs to me. Okay, and you have no connection to it. And what's yours, I have no connection to. There is no deeper connection than a husband and a wife. It's like stealing my eyes. No difference. It's worse. So that's the mindset that we have to have. The commandment of not to steal Although I say there's specific parameters, and maybe waking somebody up does not fall into that category, maybe cutting the lines up fall into category, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. The mindset, it certainly does. The mindset here is to say, what I have been given is meant for me. And what the other person has been given, it is part of their world. And that has to be like an ironclad thing around it. And that is the respect of humanity. If humanity would stop stealing in the deep way I'm talking to you about now, this would be an incredible place. Incredible. If they understood what really means to steal, which means that I've abrogated you as a person. I just blow over. I don't care. I don't care about your purpose. No, I should care very much. That's yours. Whoa. That's your mission in life. Those are your tools. They're God given for you. How would I go into something else and break that boundary? It's impossible. It's a destruction of the world. And that's why it's one of the 7 Noachide laws, because that mindset is the destruction. And the guarding of that mindset and the appreciation of the other person and their world and the respect of their space, that is maintaining the world. Just don't get fooled by the liars and the cheats today who speak with a forked tongue, because they do with a forked tongue. It's all about, we need to share. Everyone needs to pay their portion. I don't know. Listen, I'm no billionaire, but a guy made the money. What do you think? You could just steal it from him? I don't know. If he's a jerk, he should give charity. Maybe he does. Maybe he's a lot of charity. Probably gives a lot more charity than you do. So but people jump on the bandwagon. It's not like you can go say, this person made money, was given money by God, and yes, his responsibility is to give charity, but that's his calculation. There's a law in Judaism about respecting a wealthy person, and it's not because we care about the money. It's because if God gave someone money, he gave him something to do in this world. If you got money, then God gave you something, you could affect the world. So if you're Bill Gates and you're trying to create the next disease, all right, good. I wish you stayed married. You wouldn't be so busy, saving the world. Very dangerous when he saves the world. Keeps creating new vaccines and new viruses to save the world with, because he wants to do something good, but there's no what he's doing. He has his crazy ideas. The sun is going to blow up, and then he's got to create these things. So okay. But the reality is, when God does give a person the funds, it does give him responsibility. But it doesn't mean that a person would say, well, I should take his money. I said that's his calculation. So the whole world, which is espousing ideas now that are so insidious, that's what it is. That this whole new socialism thing is another breakdown in the framework of society. It's the ultimate. It's the next step in theft. I don't know if you guys saw the World Economic Forum. This is unbelievable. I don't know if you guys saw any of this stuff. My brother just sent me a clip of it. These people are dangerous. This guy, Klaus Schwab, put a chip in your brain and it'll read your mind. It's like, whoa. Hey, respect my space. I'll respect your space, respect my space. That is the commandment: do not steal. Not just, words, but really understanding this person has a different job, different reality, and I must respect those boundaries and guard them really, really in the most deepest and respectful and meaningful way. And when you do that, the world everyone knows their place and everyone can appreciate their place. Okay, that's my thought. So I'm going for questions, ideas, comments.
Who will be the first?
Could be anything else. To waste money? It's not a good thing to do. It is a Jewish commandment of a Jewish commandment. You can't break something, even something that's yours. You can't destroy it. Wasteful things, destroying things, not appreciating things are all the proper concepts. I wouldn't say it's necessarily one of the 7 commandments, especially if the person has their mind, they can do what they want to do with it. Should they do that? No, the logic is you should use it positively and not be a person that. But it's not a forbidden thing. A person, I don't know. It's certainly not a noble thing because charity also is not one of the 7 commandments, but it is relevant to Noachites too. Because it's a logical commandment to go into and to be able to help people. So people that waste their money, it's a low level person. It's not necessarily breaking the commandment. Commandment here is not to encroach upon someone else's stuff. Is it a lowly thing not to understand the things you have should be used in a positive way? Yes, it is. Is it a very, very bad thing to break something? Yeah, it is. It's not necessarily one of the 7 commandments. It's a Jewish commandment, not to break something. And it could be it's a logical commandment because why are you breaking things? God created something in the world. Why are you breaking it?
So it's definitely not using it for its purpose.
Yeah, it's very bad. But the idea of stealing is specifically encroaching on another person. So again, this is what I said to you before. There's a difference between the 7 Noachide commandments and the 13 commandments that the Jews are responsible for. And the 7 commandments are the boundaries. So if I respect your boundary, and you have what's yours and I have what's mine, and then I want to go and I don't know, fly around in a jet, I can't say the person is breaking the commandments. I could say he's not a very spiritual person. I could say he's not a very enlightened person if he's spending all his money on frivolous things. But I can't say he's broken the commandments because it's his. God gave it to him. But will there be a reckoning for that? Could well be. God gave him money, as I said before, and he's using it for stuff that's not good. So it's a low level person, but it's not necessarily breaking it because the lines, again, the parameters that keep the world together is that I need to respect what is yours, what God gave me, so it's mine. Now there are ideas of charity, in Jewish law. There's numbers that are required to give. 10%, 20% is different things that are obligated. And so there's noble ways to spend your money, but the breaking of the commandment would be to encroach upon another person's finances. Okay? Okay, any other questions, ideas, comments? Yeah, Tara.
Rabbi, can I ask you something on this past Parsha, on Parsha Bo,
Yeah.
about God says that the non-Jewish, other than apostolate or a slave that's owned by a Jew, is not able to participate in the Pesach ceremony. Was that just in Egypt at the time, or is that just in Israel, or is that not at all?
No, that's in every situation. In the land of Israel also, the Passover offering only for Jews. It's not one of the offerings that a non-Jew could bring. There are offerings a non-Jew could bring. There are many offerings non-Jews could bring. We accept offerings of non-Jews, and they brought no in the temple. But the Passover offering was specifically for the Jewish people. So there was talking about a certain type. The idea of a slave, which was, again, we had talked about this topic once. Slavery is obviously a very problematic discussion. Slavery, as I said to you before, in general is forbidden. The Torah nation cannot subjugate another one. The person who became a Jewish slave was somebody, and again, the word slave has a lot of connotations. It was a person who actually came into an elevated status of religious observance. Okay, and he was doing commandments, and he was able to eat the Passover offering. He would get circumcised. He did not have all the obligations of a Jew, but he had many of them, and he had a status of in that sense of a Jewish. I don't say the word slave because it has its connotations, but that person was allowed to eat the Passover offering, but a person who was not Jewish and was working for a Jewish person, for example, he could not eat it because the Passover offering was the story of the Jewish people becoming the nation. Right? It was the Jews. It wasn't, God took the Jews out of Egypt, and that's what he did for them. So he commanded them to have the Passover offering. Non-Jews could bring any other offerings, but not the Passover.
Is there any way we can participate in anything that honors the Passover service?
Yeah, you got to get the temple back. The Passover offering should be probably brought today, to tell you the truth. Passover offering is an offering that that a lot of rabbis have discussed because you don't necessarily need a temple for it. You need to go up to Temple Mount. Now, Temple Mount is a very hot topic. This latest Arab massacre, and again, it's not the individual massacre. People don't understand that. That's why I don't these fools in these guys wearing their wigs and the so-called judges. It's a joke. It's absurd. This is not a question of Israel retaliating. There is a war because the goal of the attack of October 7th and the goal of Hamas and the goal of the Palestinian Authority is to eradicate every single Jew. That's what was the Nazis, the same thing. And they call it this attack, they have a name for it, the Al-Aqsa, the temple, they put their mosque on the Temple Mount because they wanted to get in between us and God. So they call this battle something about the Temple Mount. So it's a very unfortunate thing, but it's the reality of it is it's not in the hands of people. It's in God's hands that place will soon again be under Jewish control. It should be right now. People should be taking it, and they don't. But what happens is that Jews really can bring the offering of the Passover offering now. If they could force themselves on the Temple Mount, that's why they guard it very strongly. And that's why there's a law that you can't, if you go on the Temple Mount, a Jew cannot move his lips. He gets arrested. Now, I don't recommend anyone goes to the Temple Mount. Do not go because there's places that you can't go. I don't go because you have to be a person has to be pure, which means they have to have the ash of the red heifer. There's different qualifications to be able to go. There are some rabbis who say they know where people can go, and there's places where non-Jews can go, Jews can go. I don't know if any of the places on Temple Mount is places that non-Jews can go. I don't go up there. Most religious Jews do not go up there because they're afraid they're going to walk into a place they're not allowed to walk into. My son, one of my boys, his rabbi does go up, and he goes up, and he was once arrested for moving his lips on the Temple Mount. He was saying Shema, and they caught him. They arrested him. So what you could do is we got to push to build the temple to get control of the Temple Mount. That's the part. That's having part in that process, because the service of the Passover, with the temple is a whole different thing. Now, again, a person wants to visit, has a Jewish friend that invites them to a Seder, there's certain ways that can be done. It's a little tricky, and you have to see the local person. It's not forbidden to be at a Seder, but there's certain qualifications that would have to be done, and so most local rabbis where you are would know what those are. But the participation that you really would want is the idea of assisting whatever you can. Let's track down that red heifer. Track down the red heifer. Now, again, God's going to make it happen when we're ready for it. It's not going to be. And by the way, they have a few right now that they are holding. There's about 5 of them right now that came to Israel not long ago that have the qualifications. They just need to keep it for 2 years before they grow any black hairs. That would purify the Jewish people, and then the world will go into a transformation. By the way, the next transformation that's going to happen in the world is very, very soon, very, very soon. And what that is that there's a law when most Jews live in the land of Israel. There's certain laws that change. There's certain laws that go into effect that when we were in exile, they didn't. And we are getting close to that point. Not only that, right now, someone sent me an article that the Jews coming to Israel from America is at an all-time high. And by the way, that's really one of the reasons why this whole war is happening and the whole anti-Semitism is happening. It's not like these people are whatever, they're bad people and they scream and they yell, but what their thing is just that the Jews need to understand they need to go home, right? And these people are just a stick. So what happens is, the next step is going to happen. It's going to happen soon. Cheyenne, it's on its way. It's coming very, very soon. That most Jews will be in the land of Israel. That's going to change. That's going to cause a spiritual change. That's going to have a ripple effect in the world. It's going to be massive. You might not see it. You might not recognize what it is, but it's going to move the world into its next stage, and that's really soon. Because I forgot the number I calculated a couple of years ago was like it should be like the next couple of years, and now with the anti-Semitism, it's pushing it faster, and God's bringing His people back really fast. That's going to happen, and the next step's going to happen is going to be the red heifer. Those processes are all in motion. And the world turning against the Jews is also part of this process. So, Tara, the answer to your question is to assist in the process, to be part of the process of getting the temple back and getting the Jews to be able to bring their offerings. And that's that is the part. Now, again, the other parts of the thing you could be the eating of the Passover offering. That specifically is for Jewish people. But as we know, the non-Jews used to come during the festivals, especially Sukkot. They came in particular, and were supportive and happy and joyous at the process. Okay, good. Any other questions, ideas, comments?
Anybody else? It's getting late over there, Rabbi. We really appreciate you staying up and taking care of this class in the evening. It means a lot. You are getting our donations that we're sending each month?
I believe so. That's my wife.
Okay.
But
just want to make sure. I just haven't heard. I just want to make sure that it's getting through. Okay. Excellent.
I'm not so involved.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
But we do have, it's like we're trying to do various things to make effects in the world. So yes, it will help us to help our ticket to come out to Texas I'm going to put the date out very, very soon. We're almost finalized it. But who from the group lives in Texas? How many people live in Houston?
Let's see. Leslie, Sandy, Tar, and me. So
Cheyenne, you want to come from California? Come to little Texas. It's a better state than California.
We probably have a good 35 people in the area that we could muster easily.
Good.
Live
so
in Texas.
We're going to do it together with the Jewish community there. As I said,
Kura's in Texas. Yeah.
Oh, great. Kura's there. Fantastic. Yeah. So we're going to do it with the Jewish community there. I have a lot of students that are rabbis in Texas. We're going to do a concert and talk about Torah. If anyone wants to accept the 7 Noachide laws, it's a good time to do that. And we'll get to see each other and get the energy. Get people excited about what's happening because it's happening. It's really, really, it's like we always know it's happening. But ladies and gentlemen, if you just look at you read the news, you're like, whoa, this is. And the craziest thing is, which is I always get back to politics with you a lot. Not that I talk about politics so much, I really don't, but I talk about it. You should know it's a befriending thing that I talk about it with you, because what happens is that sometimes, like, I teach different kinds of groups. So let's say I teach here in Israel, I teach rabbis. So that's one kind of thing we learn. And then I teach a lot of times Jews that are not observant. And unfortunately, the Jews that are not observant, they have to, like, tiptoe, because they have some ideas they need to, like, get out of their heads. So and it's good to be able to speak frankly about the situation, because the greatest thing in the world is that the emperor is not wearing any clothes, and everyone sees it. It's great. It's absolutely great. It's unbelievable. It's like, literally, now you're looking at the world and you're saying, "Wow." I wonder. I always wonder, when I see how corrupt this whole system is. Was it always like this? You just didn't know? I don't know the answer to that question. I suspect it was. The Talmud speaks about, these fake judges and how they look so righteous, and the Talmud goes through, how certain rabbis expose them, and I wonder how corrupt the system has really been for so long. But what happens is that when you see, when all of the things that were the idols, the so-called, situations of the world, they start to fall apart. The emperor's not wearing any clothes, and you see it, then you can really start to say, okay, well, what is true? You know? And I think, and like I said, I do think that, some of the commentators who picked up that there was something good that America did set up. I would take a little bit of credit for that, not me personally, but they based it on Jewish thought. The idea of these systems, they weren't keeping the Noahide laws exactly, but they did base it on their understanding of a lot of Torah ideas, even the idea of the checks and balances of the American government. That's also clearly modeled after the situation of in the Torah. The king was synonymous with the idea of the president. There was the Sanhedrin, which was the judicial system, and there was the Kohanim. And there was, a system of how everyone had a certain role. They did structure that. So there's certain things that they try to structure that were very unique in America. And now, unfortunately, it's unraveling. And but not unfortunately, really, not really unfortunately, because it's unraveling to come to a greater reality. I hate to say it, but the thing is, if you look in the book of Daniel, so when there's Edom, which is Rome, he's seen as there's different kingdoms. There was the Babylonian, which appears as a lion, and then there was the Persian, which appears as a bear, and then there was the Greek, which appears as a leopard, and then there was the Roman, which is like a weird monster, because the Rome was really, just a powerful machine. And in the vision in Daniel, it has 10 different horns, which represent the 10 different great empires that will come up from the Western world. And in the end, they see that they fall before the Mashiach comes, because everyone turns and says, "Oh, okay, so this wasn't really it." So, we have a lot of, gratitude towards America. Moshe Feinstein called it the land of kindness. And the Jews were always very, very, good, appreciative citizens. But it's not the ultimate. And I think that if they start getting it back on track a little bit, that's good, because then it lines up more with proper values. What's happening now in America is, unfortunately, they've lost their way. And the values that they're espousing now are completely antithesis of the 7 Noahide laws and the Torah. So we're in a very, very powerful time, and when you see that, you say, okay, so it's being exposed, and hopefully, it's going not hopefully, it certainly is going to be revealing to a greater level and a greater form of governance, and eventually, I don't know how long it's going to take, but a governance that's going to be based on real truth. And America, what it was, the point was dealing with oppression and solving the problem of the European oppression, and creating this reality. But it's going to come at some point to a greater understanding and a true righteousness, and people are going to see the emperor's not wearing any clothes. Okay, now let's do the right thing now. So we're close to that.
Rabbi, I got one more question on YouTube. Kevtropolis is asking, in regards to theft, what happens if someone receives stolen property but doesn't know it was stolen? Does some form of judgment fall on that person?
If they didn't know, what could they do? They didn't know. But I mean, if a guy comes to you on the street and says, "Hey, I got a
I
$1,000
got a gold
watch
Rolex for
$5.
$100. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so then so don't take it, because then you're being an accomplice. I don't know if it's exactly. I don't know that I have to look. I don't know that would transgress per se, because when the thing was stolen, the other person did the theft. So I don't know if that's transgressive, but it's certainly being accomplice to it. It's certainly not the thing to do, because as long if you take a stolen item, the guy comes and sells you a watch, for $1,000 watch for $100, $50, then you're assisting in theft, which is a problem, because you're now helping that person be a thief. So at least you're doing that. You might not be a thief yourself, but you are assisting theft, which is not something you want to do.
Isn't there something also covered within halakha that if someone, let's say Tar, has a really nice truck and he needs the money real bad, but he's willing to sell it to me for pennies on a dollar, but I'll be stealing from him basically if I take it. Isn't there a halakha about that? Like how I'm supposed to approach it as a buyer? Like, am I cheating him in his desperation? I'm thinking there was. I just can't remember.
Well, there are certain things. There is a problem of what's called Ganev Hadas, stealing somebody's mind where you trick them. That's a problem. That's a real problem. So if the guy thinks he's selling this and he's selling that, and you fooled him, that's a real problem. There is a law, which I don't think Noachites have to abide by this. There's a law for Jews called Onah, where you're not allowed, if you buy something that the price is jacked up on, or a sixth over the price or sixth under the price, the sale is nullified. But that I don't think that's for Noachites, because that's a very unique law. Because that law is, even if the guy is knows it, he knows it, but that's not the price. And so it's now, again, when somebody is desperate, so that their prices do go down, and that's why there was many in the Talmud, they set up many qualifications. For example, a person would not have to sell his property right away, because we don't want people to see him as desperate, because then the price drops. Unfortunately, in the cutthroat world that we're in, a lot of times people specifically do that. They try to drive the guy. It's a very bad thing to do. Cutthroat things are very bad.
Demand destruction
is it called
goes on
theft?
today.
Is it called theft? So you can't trick someone into doing something, selling something, because you thought something else. If the guy was giving you a cheap price, for a Jew, there's a certain place where that may be a problem. I don't think for a non-Jew that's forbidden.
Today they push demand destruction, and they literally try to alter the economic landscape to manipulate it in their favor. On that note, Rabbi, I'm getting a similar tone. Kat is asking, Rabbi, this may be off topic. However, is a business owner responsible if people make a sin because of his business? Like, for instance, she cites Mark Zuckerberg. Is he responsible for sin that might be from Facebook, or would Nietzsche be responsible if someone goes off the path because of his book?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So like this, if a person goes and acts nobly and they do the right thing, and someone else then takes it and and uh, um and does something wrong, that's their own free will. They did that. If you set up a bad system and something that is problematic and you cause other people to do something wrong, then you have some level of culpability to that. I don't know what to say about Facebook. I don't know what to say about Facebook. I think Facebook, um, the platform itself, which is why I'm on it, is it could be a tool. I think a lot of the stuff they do is not good. I think that, they push their trip, they push their agenda, they push their election goals, and they push their this and their that, and I don't think they play fairly. So I think there's a lot of stuff that they do that they try to manipulate people. I don't know if you saw this thing. It was a fascinating thing. I heard this report that TikTok, they have these algorithms, they send people different videos. So to Americans, they send them the most idiotic, disgusting type of videos, and in China, they send them culture and and it's like unbelievable. So there's a real manipulation. I mean, like I don't know. It's like it's a very strange world right now. Like I once, they pop these things up. So one time I clicked on a Beatles thing. I don't know. I just like the Beatles. So I clicked on the Beatles, and now every day I just get about the Beatles. Like they're like trying to read my mind. And click this if this is what you want. So I don't want. I don't want you to know what I want. I don't want you reading my mind. Don't try. So I don't know if Facebook is really a good thing. I think that Mark Zuckerberg has a lot of screwed up ideas, and I think the product that he produces therefore has a lot of messed up things. Could it be a positive tool? Yeah, it could be. I said to you once, I thought it'd been a great thing. I thought that Elon Musk, when he wanted it to go and to bring freedom of speech back to America, which has been lost, he should have said this thing. You can say what you want to say, but try to find something nice to say to the person first. Even if the guy said something idiotic, said, listen, you can say to the guy, listen, I see you real, and this is really true what I'm going to say now about most of the idiotic things I see on these sites. I see you really do want to do what's right. You really want to help the underdog. You just really are very, very confused. You're very mistaken. And then speak. So like if you could say something nice about somebody. So I think what I'm answering you is that if what you put out in the world is good and someone takes it and uses it for bad, and that's their free will. When you put something out in the world, if you put something out in a way that produces negativity because the product you're putting out is not good in itself, it's negative, then you have some level of responsibility for causing that. So, I think Facebook, again, I think Facebook is a product of Mark Zuckerberg's philosophy of life. If I would have created Facebook, it would look very, very different. I wouldn't let it go this way. I'd shut it down. With all the hate that Facebook has created, I would have shut it down. I would have said, no, this is a bad experiment. So just try to build good things in the world. If you build something, you have a business, and someone takes something, they do something bad with it, that's their own free will. Everyone has free will. It's not your fault. Okay?
Anybody else? Dan, is there any questions from Facebook or YouTube?
Well, it's good. It's perfect timing. Perfect timing. It's
Perfect
12
time.
o'clock. Perfect. And 12 o'clock here. and I'm going to sign up for Israel. We're going to be back in the States soon, so I'll be in touch with you guys next week.
Yes,
I'll still
sir.
be here, but then we'll be back in the States. We'll be in Florida doing some speaking there and some playing, and then back to Texas. If you're in Florida, send me a message, and we'll be happy to come see you, or you come see me. But we'll be in Florida for a little bit, and back in Atlanta, doing some events in Atlanta, and then to the Lone Star State.
Right on. Well,
Texas.
thank you, and we're praying for your safety there, Rabbi. And so we're on for next week, tentatively, is what you're saying?
That's right.
Excellent.
Plan is
excellent.
yes.
Look forward to it. Excellent
Okay.
message today. Very relevant. So on that note, folks, I think we're going to sign out from our Working Together series here. Till next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody.
All the best. See you next week. Bye. Alrighty. Bye.